dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Hello, welcome to Liberty Nation Radio, heard coast to coast on the Radio America Network. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. On today's special edition, we are talking the Mamdani Split, Hakeem Jeffries gets the jitters, Hunter Biden unleashes, and discovering why Democrats still seem so lost. Please remember, Liberty Nation Radio is sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. And you're on Liberty Nation Radio. I'm Mark Angelides, and we're joining a conversation with Liberty Nation senior political analyst and longtime host of this here radio show, Mr. Tim Donner. Tim, as a New Yorker yourself, what's your take on the recent, let's call it Mamdani mania?
Yes, that'd be a good term for it. There's a couple ways to look at the Mamdani phenomenon. I mean, first of all, for a guy who was at about 1% support a month or two before the election or the primary in New York, he did a remarkable job of engendering support among young New Yorkers. And I might say that I think part of the reason he was able to do that is because, you know, Gen Z, as it goes up to about 30 years old, supposedly, these people have never had to live through socialism. They've never had to feel the impact of what socialism does to an economy, to a people. They're not aware, nor do they care, that literally tens, if not hundreds of millions of people over the last half century or more, really century, have died at the hands of socialism. So to them, it means that he's addressing what concerns them the most, which is the cost of living, accessibility to housing, and a general sense that, you know, they can live and thrive in New York. Now, of course, it's all empty promises. Actually, it's worse than empty, because there's no possible way he can fulfill all the things that he has promoted, such as free bus service, free child care. And let's not forget, too, he is planning to eliminate bonuses for bankers and Wall Street executives, which is a huge part of what they ordinarily make in a year. So this stuff is unsustainable. But what Mamdani has done more than anything else is put the Democrats in an impossible position. And you can see that from the fact that the Senate Majority Leader, the Senate Minority Leader, I should say, Chuck Schumer, the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, the Governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, nor anybody outside the squad has been willing to endorse this guy. If you think about it, it's pretty incredible. This is the most high-profile race of this off year, this political off year, the year after a presidential election.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Sorry, Karen.
I mean, so the fact that the national Democratic leaders and the governor of Mamdani's own state will not endorse him tells you a great deal. He is a major problem for the Democratic Party. But for young New Yorkers, he seems like a panacea. He'll solve all of their problems like socialists always claim they'll be able to do, but never can.
I want to make a distinction here, Tim, because young New Yorkers absolutely are all for this newfangled socialism they've been hearing about on TikTok. But there was a recent, I think it was CBS polling, forgive me if I got that wrong, but it showed that 18 to 30-year-olds, Donald Trump had support pushing like 55% not long after inauguration, and that he's dropped massively with that group. And you have a lot of people on the political left cheering this, saying, you see how bad Donald Trump's gone, his right-wing rhetoric, all this, it's pushed them away. And I don't think that they understand. Now, New York is a very different
Yes.
because I don't think they realize that the young people that are turning away, at least in opinion polls, from Donald Trump, who were supportive of him before, are not. What's the best way to say this? Are turning away because they don't think he's going far enough. They're actually an incredibly right-wing demographic, and I think that is a mistake that the left is really making, that it's going to come back and bite them in the behind, because they're not turning away from Donald Trump because he's doing what he said he was going to do when they supported him. They're turning away because he's not doing as much as they'd hoped he would do. And that, to me, seems to be, I mean, you tell me, have I got the analysis wrong here? And I'm not talking about New Yorkers here, by the way.
Well, Mark, you kind of have to divide Gen Z into two different groups, the younger Gen Zers and the older Gen Zers. It's interesting that there is a divide. The younger Gen Zers, those in their upper teens and early 20s, were heavily supportive of Donald Trump in the 2024 election. But if you look at the older Gen Zers, who are 25 to 30, they are more liberal, as you would generally expect young people to be. I think Democrats are working off the assumption that when you're young, you tend to be more liberal. And when you're older, you tend to be more conservative. I remember it was your own Winston Churchill who said, anyone who's young and conservative has no heart, and anyone who's old and liberal has no mind.
Yeah.
And so, but I think that, New York youngsters respond to social media. Their lives sort of center around social media. And I have to say, Mamdani has done a brilliant job of appealing to them through a social media platform and telling them what they want to hear. And what he's done is what the Democrats have not been able to do for the last 4 years, which is talk directly about kitchen table issues, about the cost of living, about the cost of food, about accessibility to housing. The Democrats have been busy talking about climate change and systemic racism and DEI and transgenders. These things are not important to the American people. What's important is that they can afford to live. And so Mamdani found a way to appeal to those young New Yorkers. They just don't realize they're being sold a pig in a poke. And I will say that, there'd be about 3 or 4 times as many people that vote in the general election in New York City in November than voted in the primary. So New Yorkers still have a chance to really understand and dig down on what would be involved in having essentially a Marxist as the mayor of New York and the world headquarters of capitalism.
It's quite fascinating. It's the follow Zohran Mamdani's way of managing your finances by, as he said himself, he gets money off his parents when he runs out of funds, which is essentially, I believe, his blueprint for Big Daddy federal government.
Well, his father is a very well compensated left-wing quasi-Marxist professor at Columbia University. So it all makes kind of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, his mother's a filmmaker as well. Quite a well-known one within certain circles too. We'll be back with Tim Donner, continuing our talk on Zohran Mamdani and the New York City race in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.